Hello viewers, you're welcome to the AAU TV. This is the AAU Talk Show. My name is Raphael Kutejani and I'm the host for today. With me here is Mr. Aram Tewia and he's our guest. He's the CEO and co-founder of Leti Arts. Today we'll be discussing the African video gaming industry and the opportunities for higher education in Africa. Of course, everyone would like to play games, so I believe this is a good topic we would want to talk about. Stay tuned, we want to go for a quick break. Thank you.
Dumela ma Africa Amad.
Magadini Mose.
Olá a todos.
Bonjour.
Nagaiswa.
Goeiedag.
Salivonani lonke.
Moribwanji.
Hello.
We are
Africa University.
Africa University has brought the US to me where I couldn't go, and now is taking Africa to the world. And I am Africa.
As a community of diverse cultures and languages, Africa University is passionate about moving the agenda of Pan-Africanism. Africa University, the dream is alive.
I'm studying medical laboratory sciences on the STEM scholarship. Africa University has the best malaria research lab in the entire country. So if you're interested in lab sciences or conducting any sort of research, then Africa University is the place to be.
Africa University is the school of hope in the Valley of Dreams. Come and join me. We're gonna make Africa better than before.
You might have not been to all the African countries. Come to Africa University and see Africa happening every day. An institution that offers a world-class education system.
Are you thinking of being a global person? Thinking of enhancing your business and leadership skills? Why not choose Africa University?
As a working mother and a wife, through one of its many flexible programs, Africa University has afforded me an opportunity to pursue my master's degree in intellectual property.
As former SRC president, Africa University sharpened my leadership skills. A university that rewards excellency and hard working.
Being a Catholic nun, I came to Africa University with a lot of mixed feelings. I was scared, a bit hesitant, and wondering how was I going to manage in a United Methodist institution. But you know what? I've experienced a vibrant, God-fearing, ecumenical community.
Welcome to Africa University. Sign up today and come and work with some of Africa's finest young talent. Whatever your background or field of interest, you will feel right at home. Africa University has a vibrant and multicultural student body, offering you a range of facilities, both in and outside the classroom. Our dining hall provides for more than 11 different menus with cultural diversity. Should you need accommodation, Africa University caters for a number of residence options. Whatever your level and whatever your sport, at Africa University you'll find plenty of opportunities to stay active. Our excellent sports and fitness facilities will help you stay on top of your game in an environment that promotes a proactive approach to sport, recreation, health and well-being. Every year the university gets multi-talented athletes from among the student body and staff. Their sporting backgrounds are as varied as their nationalities. Some have represented their countries and have received awards in the process. Enroll with us for our March or August intakes. Africa University, investing in Africa's future.
You're welcome viewers. This is the AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa. My name is Raphael Kutejani and I'm the host for today's AAU Talks. Today here with me is Mr. Tewia Aram. He's the CEO and co-founder of Leti Arts. We are here to discuss the African video gaming industry and the opportunities for higher education in Africa. We are going to talk about, a quick one. You're welcome, Mr. Aram Tewia.
Thank you, Raphael.
Okay, so please, what would you say, what are games and why is it necessary for us to play games?
Yeah, so basically, from way back, games are basically an activity between two people with the intention of outwitting each other.
Okay.
And still having fun.
Okay.
Right? Keeping it very fun to release tension. So it's very necessary to tone down serious issues as well. So
Okay.
you know, we have terms like gamification. So we blend games in existing processes to also make it less serious, but still achieve that same impact.
Okay.
So as the saying goes, all work and no play makes
Jack
Jack a dull ball. So if you work, you need something to release tension, and that psychological mindset of outwitting each other in something and still having fun is really key, and that's how I would classify games.
Okay. With respect to what you've just said, I feel like playing game. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely.
Maybe let's
so
try and play.
yeah,
So,
okay.
So I think he's gotten me, but that's fine. So please, what are the current trends of video games in Africa?
So I think in my book I documented a whole timeline.
Okay.
So I released a book called The Uncompromising Passion, the humble beginnings of an African video game industry. So in there I have a whole timeline of how games evolved and where games are going in Africa.
Okay.
So I was born in the 80s, in the early 80s, and we experienced the regime of the physical and the digital games. So in the 80s and early 90s, we were experiencing the Pilolos, the Alikoto, the Owares, like all that. Yes, Chaskele, everywhere. Even growing up in Kumasi on a university campus, we were playing all those things, right? So it wasn't just in the villages that those games were played, but even in the urban areas, games, just physical activities cut across. And we also experienced the Super Marios, the Nintendos, you know, Sega, Street Fighters, those break games, Game Boys, and all that, right? So, and those were early to late 90s. So early 90s, there was a lot of such games on the continent, like Atari, Super Nintendo, Sega, Genesis, Sega Mega Drive, Game Boy, Game Color, all those. And then from the 96 upward, we started having PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and they were pushing 3D, you know, and from that time we started seeing computers also in the system, having games like the diskette games like Prince of Persia, and then we had Doom, the first 3D game, then Quake and all that. So based on the gadgets, like the introduction of gadgets, those gadgets on the continent, a lot of the Africa middle class was able to experience that. So from the timeline, that's how Africa experienced games in the early 90s. Then from 2000, between 2000 to 2003, we started seeing more of 3D games like FIFA and Tomb Raider, all these, also foreign. Then in 2003, a company tried to make a game, a thing called Mixit, from South Africa, tried to make a game. It was SMS based, but it couldn't survive. And it changed to an instant messaging platform. So Mixit was a very long time an instant messaging platform like WhatsApp before WhatsApp killed it eventually. But in 2005, that's where I used my project work as the first game to be made probably professionally and outdoored as a game made on the in sub-Saharan Africa. So I transformed one of the games I did when I was a child in 1997. I redid it for my final year project in computer science in KNUST in 3D called Sword of Sygos. So in that timeline, I marked that as the first 3D game from Sub-Saharan Africa. Then in 2007, we saw another game, 3D game, made by one Wesley Kirinya, who is my co-founder now. So he made Adventures of Nyangi, and he built that game from scratch. And that was also published as one of the very first games made in Africa. Actually, that was published in our newspapers in Ghana in 2007. that the first game in Africa has been made, and it wasn't me. I made my game in 2006, but mine wasn't published. So that's how I got to meet Wesley.
Okay.
And then we saw more advanced games from South Africa, Luma Arcade. And then 2009, we started Letty Arts, myself and Wesley, after meeting. So that's how the game development landscape has evolved. And now we have a lot more game companies from Nigeria, Cameroon, Uganda. Like, a lot more people are building video games now.
I'm sure my viewers will be wondering, or our viewers will be wondering, how these games are made. So what I want to ask is, on which integrated development environment, otherwise known as ID, are these games based on?
So I think before you even get there is like the process in making games, or even like the existence of the industry.
Okay.
So before someone would make a game is a simple software. It's also a software. It's also software, but in a much more tangible form.
Okay.
So the same IDEs you use to build apps
Okay.
and normal software is the same thing you use to build games.
Wow.
It's just that you need much more creative assets. So you involve Photoshop, artists to design your stuff in art. Related software like Photoshop, AutoCAD, Maya, 3D Studio Max if it's a 3D game. Then you bring those assets into the programming environment. And with a game, you need sound, so you need a sound engineer. So that's the only thing that makes the game software different from the normal apps. Okay, so though they even have similarities. Okay. So you can make a game in JavaScript. Wow. Currently, we build a lot in JavaScript. There's something we also call game engines. You know, making a game is quite complex. APIs? Yes, set of APIs made into a usable form, like made into an IDE for you. Okay. So you can have Visual Studio, as the programming interface, but it has a game engine behind it, which is making the process of making a game easier for you. So we have something like Unity engine. So if you hear Unity 3D, it's a game engine that's designed by Unity. Then we have other game engines like Phaser.js, which is a JavaScript-based engine, 3JS. We have libgdx, we have Unreal Engine. Like, there are a lot of game engines, Game Maker and all that. But the whole idea of games is that it's an app with a right brain. So it's a extreme creative side of a normal app that you are building. So you need much more than just building the core functionality.
That is great. That is great. So come to think about it, what relation does gaming have with higher education in Africa?
Oh, a lot. I have been preaching STEAM, which is science, technology, engineering, arts, and mathematics, and also the benefits of game development to an economy. And the idea of higher education in Africa, which is universities or from polytechnics or even high schools to tertiary, the idea to encourage people into technical disciplines like video games is very necessary. So, for instance, before I did computer science, and I'm a game designer. Computer science is just one component in game programming. In game design, you need the artist, you need the music person, you need all the stakeholders. It's a team. It's a collaborative initiative. That's why I preach STEAM. Science, technology, arts, and mathematics, not science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So for higher education in Africa, you need to have that team mindset in order to make disciplines in games a reality. You understand? So, and when you do that, automatically technical courses that we want people to indulge, like the mathematics, the medicines, and we are complaining that people, or especially girls, are not having interest. You can draw the arts into those disciplines gradually.
Wow.
Yes, so that is how much it means to higher education, to embrace game development as one of the very major components.
So what is the current state of gaming in Africa?
So there are two ways. We have those who play games,
okay,
and those who make games. So I'll start from those who play games, which is the esports, which is rising, because I saw Kwese TV having a dedicated channel called esports. And esports is just people competing in playing a particular game. So for instance, FIFA can be happening, the World Cup is about happening. They've already released the FIFA 2018 version already. So they can set up the virtual FIFA competition by EA Sports, and people can play that and win some money. So esports is on the rise now. People are playing a lot of games online and making a lot of money. People bet, people watch it. Like Kwese just streams gameplay of people playing online. So we have Twitch and all that, and people are making a lot of money. I know there's Evo. There's one that I used to follow, which is the fighting game champions for Mortal Kombat and all that. And people actually win up to $10 million or even $100 million. There was one that they shared with me that they had a prize pool of $100 million.
That is money.
Yes. So and people are making that happen globally. And I think Africa, there are companies springing up that is trying to encourage that form of gameplay. So
you're having fun and you're making money.
You are having fun. So people just sit home and they call themselves game players. Like you can see teams with their names and they are only playing FIFA or something. That is the work they do, and they get paid.
Wow.
So that is one aspect of games on the continent, which is also on the rise. And then we have the game development landscape, where Letty Arts is plowing. Though esports, we are encouraging that, but the pie is big, so people are plowing that. So game development is also on the rise. So I gave you the landscape of game development, and now a lot more companies. Since we started about 6-7 years ago, we were the only companies in sub-Saharan Africa, which is Ghana and Kenya. But now we have over 20 companies opened up all over Africa, which is in Nigeria, Cameroon, Uganda. South Africa and Morocco have had game industries long ago. North and South Africa, I really don't call them true Africa because they have influence of a lot of Western influence. They have a lot of Western influence. So they have some industries and some universities teaching game development. But for sub-Saharan Africa, that is what I'm really referring to, the true Africa, right? With that one, it's a huge challenge.
Not to cut you, but I'm sure now people will be wondering, so what should I do? What course can I do to learn how to be? So the follow-up question I want to ask is, so what courses should higher education in Africa be focused on to train gamers?
So if I can break that for you. I told you it was a collaborative.
Okay.
It's a collaborative effort. So, for instance, if I want to make a game, and I said in one interview that when I was building my thesis or executing my thesis, I did computer science. I used people from music department to build my music for me. I used people from College of Art to build my models and 3D and all that for me. I used people from chemistry department to solve some equation or something for me. So it's a collective approach depending on what your game is. So if you are making a game with viscosity and all that, you need some physicists to do some things for you, because you see some games with water and all those things. you need those special aspects of the university program to actually look at what you are doing. So for higher education, you have to have a department of creative media practice, or a game development or a game design course. When you establish a game design course, we can even start as a group, an official group, which we are trying to do. We are trying to start these kind of groups on them. When people come, then you expose them to how they can use their skill sets in industries such as games. You understand? You just can't start a university and say that I'm making games. You need to actually have a direction, right? And before higher education would embrace game development as a course in the universities, the industry has to be ready to absorb them. So you can't start producing game developers without having the industry ready that will absorb them.
Wow.
You understand? So that's why some of us are the first movers. So we are trying to create the environment and to tell people that, hey, if you read physics and you are good at this, probably a game company can absorb you, because there are opportunities in the game industry for all aspects of the courses.
You also need some programming skills.
Yes, you need a lot of programming skills. But what I'm saying is it's a collaborative effort. So computer science would focus on programming, art will focus on art. Physics would focus on their physics.
So they produce those outputs. They don't necessarily have to learn the programming.
They don't necessarily have to learn the programming. But if there is a department for game design, then in game design knows that they are making use of all those skill sets. So that will create the awareness that, hey, though I'm reading computer science, I'm programming here. And then in game design, there are other roles. There is a creative designer. There is a game writer. There is the speech engineer. There is the one who does the creative directing, like the one who directs all these productions here. In games, you have the creative director. And those guys are all, it's like making a movie. Different roles come together to make something beautiful. So in games too, that's how to do that. And I spoke about STEAM, which is in one of the interviews, that you are marrying arts and science. So when you bring arts and science together, you make a game, right? So one of the companies I started is called STEAM Africa. And in STEAM Africa, we use the anatomy of game design to teach computer science, which will encourage people to undertake STEM-related courses, right? So the anatomy of game design is what I've described to you. Someone who is doing sound will be the sound person, programmer will do the programming and all that. Though in each aspect there are specialization areas as well. But in the broad sense, that is
I think I'm enjoying this. Well, okay, viewers, so we've been talking about the African video gaming industry and the opportunities for higher education in Africa. My guest here has been Mr. Aram Tewia, and he's the CEO and co-founder of Leti Arts. We would like to go for a quick break, and we'll be back.
This not only leads to innovative solutions for context-specific challenges, it also powers growth and facilitates greater participation in the global economy. This new model of partnership will require a shift in global development and cooperation practice.
Carnegie Mellon University has already opened its campus for a master's degree program in information technology in East Africa. At Carnegie Mellon Rwanda, you learn. At Carnegie Mellon Rwanda, you innovate. At Carnegie Mellon Rwanda, you make a difference. At Carnegie Mellon Rwanda, you learn, innovate, and make a difference.
US, this is AAU TV, the voice of higher education in Africa. This program is AAU Talks, and we've been talking about the African video gaming industry and the opportunities for higher education in Africa. My guest here has been Mr. Tebia. My name is Rafael Kotejani. Welcome once again, Mr. Tebia.
Thank you.
Okay, so I would like to know what ways can video games change the way education is conducted in Africa?
Oh.
So in what ways can video games change the way education is conducted?
A lot. So currently, my company, like Letty Arts,
Okay.
One of the things we are trying to do is to sell games through education. And we have two ways. So as a company, our mission is to preserve African culture through video games. So we do that through superheroes and African history. So we have Africa's legends who are characters, right? And based on history, so we have Shaka Zulu, Mansa Musa, Yasantua, all these characters as superheroes. Then we have villains who represent issues on the continent. So we have greedy presidents, corrupt politicians, and all these warlords and all that is happening, pirates on the continent. And with this franchise, we've created video games and digital comics. So we have an app called Afro Comics where all these stories are served. So in Afro Comics, you can actually get educative, entertaining content from the app. You understand? So that's one way Letty Arts preserving African culture through education. So those doing history and all that, instead of reading manuscripts that span like 1,000 pages in a boring light, you can look at a video. When I was growing up, I saw Thor as part of the Avengers. He stopped the car with his club. So I went to read everything about the Nordic god of thunder, Thor. You know, Thor is an actual mythical character. So I read about him because I saw Thor as a superhero. So the same thing we are creating for African history and folklore. The other side is also using gamification. So we've built games for change. Like we've worked with organizations like USAID, JPIGO, the World Bank, Microinsure. We've worked with Oxford University and some trusts as well to build games for maternal mortality, to reduce maternal mortality for in-service nurses. So instead of the nurses going for training, traveling from Tamale to Kumasi or from Nairobi to Ghana, you can play a game that presents you with scenarios, and by the time you finish playing the game, you've actually earned CPD points.
So fun-based
learning. Fun-based learning. And we've also made games for HIV purposes, for in-service nurses, so that nurses can use to actually learn how to handle HIV patients and not stigmatize them. We've made games for malaria in pregnancy. We've built games for sexual healthy relationships in teenagers. You know, so these are ways that you can use games to create change, and they are called serious games. So we've used our game technology to also visualize education in this form. And if we are able to dispense information in this form, trust me, for behavioral change sake, this is how to do that. If you want people to stop littering about and defecating everywhere, or to fight sanitation, you should do it in an indirect way. Put it through a game. As people play, they earn points, and they can actually eventually change. right? So that's how we see games affecting education.
Okay.
And the other side of the coin too is the development of games, right? So the process in actually developing a game is also very tangible.
Okay.
So if I want to train you in computer science or teach you code, if I tell you to build an ATM software and I say, oh, create a class, do this, do that, it's really abstract. So it makes
abstract.
coding difficult.
Oh, okay.
So if you pass coding through games, because in games, you know that in your design, there's a human being standing here, there's a bird standing here. So you want to teach Pythagoras theorem. You tell someone that shoot the bird here. If you want to shoot a bird, instead of telling somebody that Pythagoras theorem is equal to what? Angle of this to this. You can say, if Kofi wants to shoot this bird, he's going to draw a line, a triangle to the bird.
Yes.
And he will count the number of squares here and the number of squares. And then you can determine the angle at which you are going to shoot the bird through them with this magnitude and all that. So that's how you can use the anatomy of game design to actually simplify mathematical principles and physics principles. So those are the two ways that you can use games to benefit higher learning education.
So based on how you are speaking, or based on the lines of this conversation, are there any gaming communities in Africa?
Yes, there are. Like Letty Arts, for instance, we've started a movement like that. We've been doing this since 2009. We've trained over 200 interns. And there's a group called International Game Developers Association, which is called IGDA. And chapters have started in different aspects, different countries in Africa. So we have IGDA Senegal, IGDA Nigeria, South Africa is growing. We just started the Ghana one, yet to officialize it. And there are other game events and comics events that have started. So because the industry is very nascent, there's so much work that you need to do to draw people to actually undertake, participate in such events. So we have some partners here, GameNet, Antrix Gaming, all these communities are helping us build a community in Ghana as well as in Kenya as I speak. So yes, there are communities that have grown.
So in a nutshell, would you say it's easy to develop games?
It's very easy if you make it a collective effort, and that is what we are trying to tell people, that making a game, as much as it could be termed as technical, is not technical. So because we see games to solve unemployment issues on the continent, we are trying to make it a discipline. That's why in one interview I spoke about STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts and mathematics. It's a collective effort, and we have something we call counting your blessings, like strengthening your, heightening your strengths. So if you are a writer, be a writer, because in games we need a game writer. So you will write the story for our games. If you are a poet, stick to your poem, because in games we need to have some form of rhyming and things in it, so we can have you in there. If you're a musician, be a musician. Because for instance, if we want to make an Azonto game using Sarkodie's rap, we go to Sarkodie. He is not a game developer, but trust me, by the time we finish building that game, Sarkodie might decide to undertake a programming course to learn how to make a game, because he will be so so much exposed that for him producing his rap and seeing us use his voice to make characters move on the screen, and him wondering how come Sarkodie is moving on the screen, would actually spark his interest to actually encourage somebody else to undertake a technical course, or he himself to learn how to code online. Go to code.org or something and learn.
Because I think I've seen a character like that online, on Facebook especially. And then this character can behave, like can talk and all those kind of, like simulate human-like qualities.
Exactly.
And then
exactly.
sometimes they put another person's voice
in there, and then they simulate. So like so the process of doing that is also artistic and technical as well. It wasn't done by just one person. He got people to simulate that. So using the Azunto game as an example. So you bring Sakwe together, you bring an artist to visualize him together, you bring a beats person to make the beats for you, he does the rap, you take the voice. Wow. Then the programmer takes or sits down, opens C# or JavaScript or Java, and then writes everything. And if you need it to behave in an intelligent way, if the programmer knows how to do AI, he will do it. If not, he will look for an AI expert to also join the team to build the AI. So it's a whole work of art.
It's teamwork.
Right? Yeah, it's teamwork. So with that, it is easy, right? At the same time, it needs a collective approach.
Okay.
Yes.
So you see how we are talking about this gaming, and one may ask, is the gaming industry lucrative?
Yes, that's why I'm doing that, because the gaming industry in the US is bigger than the movie and the music industry combined.
Wow.
Right? It's in the in every industry, the gaming industry is bigger than the movie and the music industry combined. Not that one. Wow. Right? So, and all these revenues that are being realized in gaming in the US, Africa is not contributing much. Like they don't even have data, though, because Africa was pirating so much before. So a lot of game companies just because they couldn't measure. But now probably they are measuring because infrastructure is growing. But all those revenues, trust me, 1% if that's didn't come from Africa. Wow. So, and we are 1 billion plus people on this continent. Imagine those guys making $100 billion plus in games alone. And the US is about 300 and something million people, and India, China, 1 billion people, and Africa has 1 billion people. If we introduce such an industry in Africa and figure out how we can also digitize our analysis and all that, and create that whole industry, leveraging on our education institutions, because I feel that's the best entry point to get everyone, because everyone passes through that. So if you get them at the learning, the educational unit, right, and they come out with game companies and creating local games that are relevant. Every Nigerian movie has its game. Imagine every Nigerian movie in Nollywood now having a game, just like how Spider-Man has a game. Now PJ Masks and all those things on Disney, they all have their games on the app. So imagine having Inspector Bediakun, Anas, all these as detective, even Anas, having Anas as a game on your phone, as a detective game, and then you will be playing Sherlock Holmes rather and stuff like that. So there is so much opportunity. So we are living on potential revenue, but we know it will work. I have been doing this, I've stuck to only games. Wow. And that's why I released my book as well, because as much as the industry is growing, you need to write literature and tell people that, solidify it, that look, this is an industry which is growing. You understand? So games are lucrative. Revenues may not be that huge now, but it's picking up. People now know our Letty Art. We've encouraged people to make games. I have interns in my office now whose mind is all that I have to make a game. So you are impacting people. So if you give yourself the next 3 years, imagine the impact you are going to create. And you will start a whole new industry. And then we can sit back and enjoy the revenues. Because MTN is here, they have 4G, 5G is coming, Vodafone, all the telcos. We have Microsoft, we have the Samsungs, all these phones have come into the system. And there's a theory that we call proximate future in ubiquitous computing. There's a category there which says that the future is already in Africa. It's just not evenly distributed.
I'm enjoying this.
You understand?
Seriously.
So now is So we making games, we are distributing, we are trying to distribute it evenly. So everything is in Africa already. Some people have even Teslas here in Africa. It's just that it has not become common yet. So the idea of ubiquitous computing, which is Africa having phones everywhere, is that we are living in the proximate future. You can realize that Africa jumped over desktops directly into phones. So we are even more advanced than the US because we are using computers in our pockets. They went through laptops and desktops and stuff like that. But we, everybody, even like someone who is on the street, everyone has a phone. You understand? So leveraging that bit of ubiquitous computing, of proximate future, the phones have been evenly distributed now. It's still being distributed. People are now bringing smartphones. So that's how every industry is going to go through. So every industry, someone introduces a new concept, then we now have people have to now pick it up and let it reach everybody.
Develop the concept. Wow.
So that's the concept that we are using to spread initiatives across the continent.
Okay. So initially you spoke about the fact that you began by using it as a project work.
Yes.
Was that in your undergraduate degree or your postgraduate?
Yes, undergraduate degree. I've not done my postgraduate degree yet.
Sorry, the graduate
and
degree.
My undergraduate degree was the games, and it's the first game. And trust me, for me, if you read my book, you will see where the future of games is going. I'm leaving this to document my life. So I take data everywhere. I have tons of research and data that has been documented. And I'm willing to publish with local education institutions. I don't want to, if I go to MIT now, which I've been, like I travel all the time. I talk at MIT, Harvard, Stanford. But the pride is that I schooled in Ghana. That is as soon as I go to Stanford or MIT, oh, MIT graduate Aram Teria says, and everything I've done is not unique anymore. You understand? Once you attend something, they will be like, everything I've done now is not unique anymore.
Yes,
it becomes KNUST just goes down MIT comes on top. So someone like me, my goal is to make education institutions in Africa relevant. And I want us to own our own research. Africa has to own its own research, especially in the gaming field. And I've gathered so much data, which I would use as my own PhD someday. But I'm always collecting data. When I launch a game, I track everything in the game. I have it. My professor who supervised me also follows me, and I really want him to publish papers through, like, he should be proud that, and he is proud that his student that made a game, and he was the only one who gave me a nod to make a game. When I proposed that I'll make a game, oh, no, games will not do it. He just said, Aram, I'll supervise you, make the game.
Wow.
And I've made the game, and I'm living the game.
It's working.
So every time he's like, wow, Aram. So now I want young professors, young doctors, people who are coming, let's publish together. Let's own our research white papers. Trust me, since I started Letty, I've had over 10 research universities who have come to Letty. Some have lived with us for 5 months, just studying. Even they track me when I wake up, where I go, what I come to do. And they are documenting. They've published it. Not a single university, local university, is doing that with me.
Wow.
But as much as I want people to publish, I still want us to own our research.
Our own research.
And I will own it myself too, because I can decide to get a PhD with all that I have now, because I'm living it for a reason, which any partner university which really sees what I'm saying as a benefit can approach me, and we can find out how to start making this research valuable for our higher learning institution. But more of it is in my book about how I see research impacting and changing the face of Africa.
So based on what Mr. Tewia has said, viewers, local governments, local institutions, I believe that we can take this up. You know, there's this saying that if you like, just like the Bible says, if you're a king or whatsoever, you are not respected in your own country
it's
or
true.
whatsoever. So I believe that it's high time we take things up. Provided it was a foreign person from MIT. You know, Ghanaians will shoot it up. Not necessarily Ghanaians, but Africa will shoot it up and make you feel like, yeah, the person is doing something. I believe this is an opportunity. It's actually a niche for them. Because if you should start now, partner with him, and tell him, no, so this is how you are striking, and then we work together. I believe it will go far. It will go far. I'm sad that the time is up, but we would like to take a few words, the last words from Mr. Tewia, and then we wrap up. So can you kindly give us your last words?
Yes, so my last words to education or higher learning education is, this is the regime for uprising technology, and we should try and own the space. Every educational institution of higher education should try and own one industry. The fintech industry, the gaming industry, the agri industry. One university should make it a conscious effort that my researchers, my PhDs, or the next 1,000 PhD or white papers is going to come from this particular industry. We need to own that space. And also we need to do research and learn how to commercialize it. Because universities are the only point where you get all skill sets gathered at the same time. Because we have MBA students who can manage businesses, we have researchers who are the technical, we have legal people who are law school people to do the IP and all that, right? So you need to start thinking commercially to create businesses from the students. And with that, there was a company that we started last year ago called Catapult. And Catapult is an initiative between 3 companies who are partnering MTN to see how to commercialize innovation from educational institutions. And Catapult would be willing to help commercialize all university project works and ideas that can actually make revenues for the continent. So please, our doors are open, and anyone can contact me. Any university listening to this can contact me in all the things I've mentioned to make this happen.
Okay, that is
Thank
great.
you.
I think maybe I should give you the opportunity to maybe leave your email or phone number so they can contact you.
Yes, so you can always contact me, aram@letiarts.com.
Okay.
And or info@letiarts.com. Aram comes to me, info goes to a couple of people. And then my phone number that can get me on WhatsApp is 0244 727546. So +233 244 727546, and we'll be willing to do business together.
Well, viewers, you heard Mr. Tewia. I actually enjoyed myself. So if you just tuned in, you realize that we were discussing the African video gaming industry and the opportunities for higher education in Africa. My name is Raphael Jani, and my guest today has been Mr. Tewia Aram. He is the CEO and co-founder of Leti Arts. Stay tuned next time. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.